Hello and welcome. Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India News Hour, India's voice to the world. I'm Gautam Roy, and coming up in the next hour, the Maldives government suspends 3 deputy ministers over derogatory remarks against India on social media, which triggered the Explore Indian Islands hashtag on different online platforms. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauds the Indian Navy's daring mission to rescue 21 crew members of a civilian vessel hijacked by pirates in the Arabian Sea. Counting is underway in the Bangladesh national elections after voting on Sunday, with a turnout estimated at around 40%. An 18-year-old Indian singer, Suchita Satish, sets a world record by singing in 140 languages at a climate concert in Dubai. Well, first up, the Maldives government on Sunday suspended 3 deputy ministers after their social media posts making derogatory remarks against India. In an earlier statement, the government had said it will not hesitate to take action against those who make such derogatory remarks. The 3 suspended ministers are Mariam Shuna, Malsha Sharif and Mazoom Majid. The ministers were in the Maldivian Youth Ministry. In a statement, the government said, and I quote, "The government of Maldives is aware of derogatory remarks on social media platforms against foreign leaders and high-ranking individuals. These opinions are personal and do not represent the views of the government of Maldives." But according to sources, the Indian High Commission in Maldives had strongly raised and expressed concerns about the comments made in regard to Prime Minister Modi by certain ministers in the Maldives government with the Foreign Office. Earlier, hashtag Explore Indian Islands started trending on X after a few Maldivian ministers posted anti-India remarks on the social media platform. Several Indian celebrities and social media influencers also joined an online campaign calling for a boycott of the Maldives. And for more on this development, we're joined by Ahmed Faruqi, DD India's Ahmed Faruqi from Colombo. Good evening, Ahmed. That's been quite a turn of events today. The 3 deputy ministers would have never thought that their social media shenanigans would blow up in their faces in the manner that they have. Now, what has made the Mohammed Muizzu government take such a stern step against them?
Yes, absolutely. This has been quite a surprising turn of events to begin with. However, you see, what happens on the social media goes out of proportion because, the reach of the posts is global. That apart, however, there had been considerable pressure from the Indian High Commission as well as several of the social media influencers. That part, there had been also pressure from the leaders of Maldives, the former president Ibrahim Mohammed Saleh, Mohammed Nasheed, as well as other leaders who have held positions such as vice president as well as the tourism ministry. They had called for strict and stern action by the Maldivian government on these erring and offending officials, the 3 deputy ministers precisely. However, you see, there has been a remarkable kind of a quick kind of a response by the Maldivian government in suspending these 3 officials in a quick manner. What we need to see is that this is just merely a suspension. It's not a dismissal or removal as such. We have to keep updating our viewers with regard to the developments as they happen in the next few days. Right. As of now, the president is proceeding to China. Once he comes back, probably will be more aware of what the situation will turn out to be.
Right. Now, you mentioned that this is just a suspension and there might be further steps that might be taken. What can you tell us about these 3 junior ministers in terms of their profile and their background?
See, Malsha Sharif and Shiona both have been active members of the party. The Moizu campaign was primarily on the basis of these two people campaigning vociferously with regard to Moizu's the viewpoint of India Out campaign, which they had run. That has been one of the mainstays how Moizu government had, Moizu campaign had proliferated and come out successful. So it has been perceived that these people are perceived to be, the party favorites. However, suspension of these party favorites brings about, the seriousness of the issue as such, and the kind of the ramifications of the matter. If in fact this has been a major diplomatic row, and it needs to be addressed seriously, because India and Maldives go a long way. There have been cultural relations between the two countries. There have been ethnic contact. In addition to that, India has been the first responder, the primary partner whenever Maldives needed any support. We remember the 1988 coup attempt, or the 2014 water crisis, or even the coronavirus pandemic, when India provided vaccines as part of the vaccine Maitri. Not just that, India has been one of the most important source tourism markets. It has been the top tourism market source country for the last 3 years, and even the year 2023, it has ended as the top source market. So India has contributed immensely towards economic development of Maldives through various means. In fact, there have been also infrastructure development projects over the last 5 years that India has started and is still going on with. The most notable is the Greater Malay Connectivity Project, which will connect the 3 islands to Malay, and that will, improve the entire lifestyle of the 3 islands which are close by, which are not yet connected.
Yes, and going forward then, what can we expect in terms of what sort of turns will the India-Maldives ties, how will they progress further?
You see, we have been following the approach of neighborhood first, and Maldives had been following the policy of India first through the entire 5-year period when President Ibrahim Saleh was at the helm of the affairs. With the change in the regime, there had been a few concerns with regard to which direction it would go. But President Moizu had clarified that the existing projects will continue in the same manner which had been happening till now. So, however, it now needs to be seen, considering that India and Maldives had been associated as partners for a very, very long time, how the relations between the two countries will pan out further. There have been economic relations, there have been ethnic contact between the two countries. But however, it can only be noted that the action that the government will take sternly with regard to these 3 erring officials will definitely be something that people will be looking forward to, and how it will impact the bilateral relations, we need to be seeing.
Yes, certainly. But the suspension then of these erring ministers does tell us that the Maldives government is sensitive to the matters that concern India and concern Indians. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Ahmed Moeen Faruqi. Now, counting of votes is underway in the 12th Bangladesh general elections. Initial results are expected early on Monday in a contest which saw around 40% turnout. The nation is expected to return Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's Awami League back to power for the 4th successive term, 5th overall for her, with her biggest rival, the Bangladesh Nationalist Party, boycotting the elections. Here's more.
Soon after the polls closed at 4 p.m. local time on Sunday, counting of votes began in earnest throughout Bangladesh. Initial results are expected early on Monday, which will seal the fate of nearly 2,000 candidates who've been vying for the 300 directly elected parliament seats. Polling began at 8 a.m. local time, the same day on a slow note, with voters trickling in both urban and rural areas. Around 800,000 police and army forces had been deployed nationwide to ensure the voting remains incident-free in the wake of opposition protests since October last year and incidents of violence and arson where lives were also lost. The main opposition, Bangladesh Nationalist Party (BNP), has boycotted the polls in protest over charges of unfair elections and the prospect of a virtually unopposed return to power for Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina seem to have dissuaded the nation's 120 million strong electorate, nearly half of whom are women, from turning out in large numbers. Bangladesh's Election Commission estimated around 40% voting at the time the polls closed, which is about half the turnout during 2018 elections. The day also saw Bangladeshi Prime Minister casting her ballot, after which she also responded to media queries related to her governance and holding of free and fair elections.
Our country is the sovereign country, sovereign independent country. Maybe it's a small country, but we have big population. So people's right, we have established people's democratic right and also right to their better life or their prosperous life. That is our main aim. We want to do that. So I'm trying my best to ensure that democracy should continue in this country.
The Bangladesh PM also spoke about relations with India, which has stood by its neighbor through thick and thin since its birth.
Well, India is our tested friend during our liberation war. They supported us. Not only that, after 75, when we lost, we two sisters, you can see, when we lost our whole family, father, mother, brothers, everybody, only we two survived. So they gave me shelter.
Sheikh Hasina is credited with turning around the $460 billion economy and its garments industry. She's also earned international praise for sheltering nearly 1 million Rohingya refugees fleeing persecution in neighboring Myanmar. But recent months have seen the global trend of rising cost of living hitting people hard and the opposition mounting pressure in a build-up to the elections.
Let's now take you across live to Dhaka and get you an update from DD India's Naval Sang Parmar. Good evening to you, Naval. Now, how is the counting coming along? By what time in the morning could we expect a broad picture to emerge about the overall result?
At the end of polling, soon after that, counting process started across the all polling station, voting station in Bangladesh. And so far as now, there are 88 seats on which result has been declared, and we got input from the friends of media that out of 88, 70 around 11 seats won by independent candidate and 3 seats won by the Jatiya Party, while remaining 74 seats are won by the Awami League. Awami League chairperson and the current Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, won her Gopalganj 3 seats with the landslide victory, as well as the cricketer turned politician Shakib Al Hasan, who is captain of Bangladesh cricket team. He won Maghura 1 seat with 1 lakh and 40,000 votes. At the same time, some sitting MP and member of and minister like Minister for Civil Aviation and Tourism, Mehboob Ali, lost to the independent candidate from Habiganj 4 seats.
Okay.
So from this trend, we can say that by early morning tomorrow, result will be declared. Now, picture is almost clear that Awami League led Sheikh Hasina led Awami League party will going to win this election.
Yes, that's what most observers and experts have been saying, that the results are a foregone conclusion, as the main opposition BNP has boycotted the elections and Sheikh Hasina has run virtually unopposed. Now, is that why we've seen an estimated 40% turnout, which is about half of what it was in 2018?
Yes, as we know that main opposition has boycotted the election, so people were in the impression that it will be a very easy for the Awami League government and Awami League party. But from the result, we can observe that the independent candidates are giving a tough fight. So that is a result that Awami League is voting percentage is very low because the opposition party, BNP and some other allies are not contesting. But at the same time, it is not easy. It was not easy for the Awami League because independent candidates are giving tough fight.
All right. Well, let's see what the final outcome is. As you said, by the morning, most of the results will be out. In fact, you said results for 88 seats of the 300 are already out. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment with that update. Now, still to come on DD India News Hour. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visits Jordan as part of a West Asia tour aimed at containing the Israel-Hamas war. Taiwan accuses China of threatening aviation safety and waging psychological warfare with a recent spate of spy balloon flights. And U.S. regulators temporarily ground 171 Boeing 737 MAX 9 jetliners for safety checks after the Alaska Airlines emergency landing.
We bring to you the legendary city of Ayodhya and tell you what makes Ayodhya everything that has got to do with the land of Lord Ram.
यहाँ रग रग में हर जगह राम ही है। सनातन धर्म के लिए तो गौरव की बात है। कण कण में भी भगवान राम की सत्ता का एहसास हमें होता है यदि हम लोग ध्यान से उसका अवलोकन करें। आज भी होता है।
This is 10th century old Hanumangadi temple.
यहाँ हनुमान जी महाराज राजा के रूप में बैठे हैं। भारत की संस्कार, संस्कृति मठ से, मंदिर से, साधु से, संत से, ऋषि से, मुनि से, महात्मा से जुड़ा हुआ है।
ये विष्णु का मस्तक है, तो यहाँ पे हर कण पावन है। यहाँ
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Israel and Hezbollah have exchanged fire across the Lebanon border on the 92nd day of the conflict triggered by the Hamas attacks in October. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited Jordan as part of a West Asia tour aimed at ensuring the Israel-Hamas war does not spread or escalate further. The top U.S. diplomat also met leaders of Turkey and Greece. More in this report.
Plumes of smoke were seen above Israel-Lebanon border on Sunday as cross-border fire with Hezbollah continued. Hezbollah hit a key Israeli observation post with 62 rockets as a preliminary response to the killing of Saleh al-Arori. The Israeli Defense Forces said they have struck Hezbollah targets.
Hezbollah, in the role it has taken as Hamas defender, fired towards military bases in the north. We suffered no casualties. We killed the squad that had fired and struck a series of targets, including significant military targets of the group. We continue to be highly prepared in the north.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is on a week-long trip in Middle East. Blinken met the leaders of Turkey, Greece and Jordan. He also visited the United Nations World Food Programme Regional Coordination Warehouse in Jordan. Blinken said that he will do everything possible to stop escalation.
As we said from day one, we have an intense focus on preventing this conflict from spreading. And a big part of the conversations we'll be having over the coming days with all of our allies and partners is looking at the steps that they can take, using the influence and ties that they have to do just that, to make sure that this conflict doesn't spread.
Meanwhile, a man was shot dead while driving a West Bank road near Ramallah on Sunday. Israeli security forces and ambulances arrived at the site. The Israeli military dispatched soldiers to the scene and additional forces were sent in search of the suspects. Aman Kumar Himanshu's report for DD India.
And let's now take you across live to Tel Aviv, where we're joined by DD India's Trent Murray for the latest. Now, good evening to you, Trent. Antony Blinken seems to be on a mission to stop the war from spreading or escalating further in the region. Are there any indications right now whether that objective will be met?
Yeah, it's a big diplomatic offensive, isn't it, by Secretary Blinken as he crisscrosses this region, speaking to all of the major players. As your report said, he spent much of today in Jordan. He's now on his way to Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. Then he'll travel to Saudi Arabia and Egypt. And it is all around trying to prevent, as you say, this conflict spreading. Now, we know that the situation in Gaza is #1 on the agenda. Many of those countries he's meeting with are saying that they would like Washington to put more pressure on Israel to announce a ceasefire. We also know the issue of humanitarian aid is high on the agenda. As the UN says, there's just not enough food, water and medicine getting into the people that need it within the besieged Strip. But in terms of hopes of preventing this conflict from spreading, well, I think we just don't know yet. We know difficult diplomatic conversations are taking place, but right at the same time, that Lebanon-based Hezbollah group, well, they continue to fire rockets into northern Israel, including a barrage in recent hours. The IDF, the Israeli army, is saying it's now responding with its own airstrikes and artillery fire in return.
All right. Now, Israel, meanwhile, seems to be moving to the next stage of its offensive in Gaza after decimating the Hamas's hold in the northern parts of the Strip. Now, how is that likely to impact the efforts to contain the conflict as well?
Yeah, this is a very significant announcement from the Israel Defense Force, because what it's saying is that it's now established operational control of northern Gaza. That was where it first launched its ground incursion earlier last year. They say they have dismantled the Hamas military framework in their words, and they also say that there are still some sporadic attacks taking place from Hamas militants, but they are now quite rare and they're operating without commanders. But in terms of the wider conflict, I think we have to stress this doesn't mean the war is over. In fact, quite the opposite. The IDF says it's going to continue to push south now to places like Khan Yunis and Rafah in the southern part of the Strip. Many civilians are currently seeking shelter there, having already been evacuated from the north, and the IDF is saying that this war is expected to continue for some time as it works to achieve the goals of the government here. Those goals include crushing Hamas and demilitarizing the Gaza Strip.
All right. Well, let's see what happens next now. Trent, thanks for joining us for the time being. Now, the 58th All India Conference of Director Generals and Inspector Generals of Police concluded at the Rajasthan International Centre in the Indian city of Jaipur on Sunday. While addressing the conference, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauded Indian Navy's daring mission to rescue 21 crew members from a hijacked vessel by pirates.
भारतीय नौसेना ने भी 2 दिन पहले बहुत ही साहसी ऑपरेशन को अंजाम दिया है। अरब सागर में आगे बढ़ रहे एक मर्चेंट वेसल से जैसे ही संकट में होने का संदेश मिला, भारतीय नेवी और मरीन कमांडो तेजी से एक्टिव हो गए। इस जहाज पर 21 लोग थे, जिसमें 15 भारतीय भी थे। भारत के समुद्री तट से करीब 2000 किलोमीटर दूर पहुंचकर भारतीय नौसेना ने उन सबको संकट से बाहर निकाल लिया। आपने भी वो वीडियो देखा होगा जिसमें उस जहाज के भारतीय कर्मचारी भारत माता की जयकारे लगा रहे हैं, भारत माता की जय के नारे लगा रहे हैं।
And on India's successful lunar and solar missions, Prime Minister Modi said they are a testament to the capability of Indian scientists.
भारत की आदित्य L1 सैटेलाइट धरती से 15 लाख किलोमीटर की दूरी तय करके अपने लक्ष्य पर निर्धारित समय पर पहुंच चुकी है। ये वो स्थान है जहां आदित्य L1 के सामने सीधे सिर्फ सूरज होगा और आदित्य L1 पर पृथ्वी या चंद्रमा की परछाई कभी नहीं पड़ेगी। इससे आदित्य L1 को वैज्ञानिक प्रयोग करने में बहुत आसानी होगी। चंद्रयान की ऐतिहासिक सफलता की तरह ही ये भारत के सामर्थ्य का, भारत के वैज्ञानिकों के सामर्थ्य का एक और शानदार प्रदर्शन है.
Well, the modern-day challenges of safety and security of India have been deliberated upon for the last 3 days in the city of Jaipur. Prime Minister Modi underscored the need to reinforce the positive image of the police among citizens. The PM advised the use of social media at the police station level for disseminating positive information and messages for the benefit of citizens.
The 3-day conference of the DGs and IGs conducted in Jaipur came to an end in Jaipur today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi participated in the conference for 2 days. He also had a one-on-one with the DGs and IGs of different states. Artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, exchange of intel info, and Naxalism were some of the issues that were discussed at length in this conference. With cameraman Sanjay Jaina and Mukesh in Jaipur, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
Taiwan has accused China of threatening aviation safety and waging psychological warfare on the island's people, with a recent spate of balloon flights spotted near over the island close to its elections. Meanwhile, China has sanctioned 5 U.S. military manufacturers in response to the latest round of U.S. arms sales to Taiwan.
China is once again at loggerheads with Taiwan as it views the island nation as its own territory. On Saturday, Taiwan's defense ministry accused China of threatening aviation safety and waging psychological warfare on the island's people, with a recent spate of balloons spotted near over the island days before key Taiwanese elections. In a statement, the ministry said the balloons were a serious threat to international aviation safety given their flight paths. We also express our condemnation of Chinese Communist disregard for aviation safety and its disregard for the safety of passengers on cross-Taiwan Strait and international flights. While China said the balloon was a civilian craft that accidentally drifted astray, Taiwan is on high alert for the Chinese military and political activity ahead of the 13 January presidential and parliamentary elections. Taiwan Vice President La Ching-te, the DPP's presidential candidate, told a campaign event that China was using its warships, warplanes and fake news to divide Taiwan. I urge you all with your sacred votes to tell the world that Taiwan will not surrender to an authoritarian regime but will continue to choose democracy and freedom. The United States, Taiwan's most important international backer and arms supplier, has watched with alarm as tensions over the semiconductor powerhouses island have risen. Asked about the balloons at a news conference in Washington on Thursday, White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said he could not comment. We obviously support the democracy and the democratic institutions of Taiwan, and we want to see free, fair, open, transparent elections there, and we are certainly mindful that outside actors could try to interfere. Meanwhile, China has decided to sanction 5 U.S. military manufacturers in response to the latest round of U.S. arms sales to Taiwan. U.S. arms sales to Taiwan are a frequent source of tension between Washington and Beijing. China views democratically governed Taiwan as its own territory, a claim Taiwan's government rejects. The sanctions come ahead of Taiwan's January 13 presidential and parliamentary elections, which China has cast as a choice between war and peace. Syed Absarul Hassan reporting for DD India.
U.S. regulators on Saturday temporarily grounded 171 Boeing 737 MAX 9 jetliners for safety checks after the emergency landing of one of the planes. The Federal Aviation Administration did not rule out further action as a probe began into the apparent structural failure. According to the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, no passengers were seated next to a cabin panel that blew out of an Alaska Airlines jet, forcing an emergency landing. And still to come on DD India News Hour. The Indian Air Force demonstrates a groundbreaking feat by landing a C-130J Super Hercules heavy lift aircraft on an airstrip in high altitude Kargil during the night for the first time. Rescue efforts in Ukraine's Donetsk are still going on. And India's Prime Minister Modi is set to inaugurate the 10th edition of the Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit on the 10th of this month.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy, and before we go any further, another look at our top stories. The Maldives government suspends 3 deputy ministers over derogatory remarks against India on social media, which triggered the Explore Indian Islands hashtag on different online platforms. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi lauds the Indian Navy's daring mission to rescue 21 crew members of a civilian vessel hijacked by pirates in the Arabian Sea. And counting is underway in the Bangladesh national elections after voting on Sunday, with the turnout estimated at 40%. Let's now return to our top story, where the Maldives government has taken action suspending 3 deputy ministers over their derogatory remarks against India on social media, which triggered the Explore Indian Islands hashtag as well on social media. Veena Sikri now joins us, former senior diplomat, on this subject. Good evening to you. Ms. Sikri, what do you make of what has happened in the first place, the remarks that were made by these deputy ministers, and the response that has followed, not just on social media, but by governments as well?
Well, I think that this party, President Muizo's party, did have India Out campaign as part of its manifesto and what they talked about in the pre-election period. So it is not surprising to see that this anti-Indianism is so near the surface as far as these 3 members of President Muizo's government is concerned. And what triggered it is very surprising. Our Prime Minister Modi, was in Lakshadweep, and there were some absolutely beautiful photographs of Prime Minister's visit to Lakshadweep. He tried snorkeling, he was enjoying the pristine beauty of the beaches and the coastline. And it was really something which triggered the imagination of the Indian public that yes, wow, India has such beautiful places, and all of us should visit these places and explore Indian islands. Now, just as this thought was coming up in the Indian discussion, going viral on Indian television, there come these horrible, unacceptable and completely rude remarks by senior members of President Muizo's government. And it's surprising because, as you are showing on your screen, President Muizo had met our Prime Minister, had met Prime Minister Modi in Dubai. It was a good meeting. And President Muizo has been taking, in his own way, a balanced position, saying, yes, that has been part of my manifesto about the Indian military troops, but we are going to continue our defense cooperation, etc. So he was very conscious of the need to take this approach, a moderate approach. But then come his ministers who have said these unacceptable things about India and about Indian leaders, about our Prime Minister. And I was absolutely amazed to see the response of the Indian people to this. absolutely, in less than 24 hours, in just a few hours as a matter of fact, there's such a unanimous response, not only from the average tourist in India, but from in Bollywood, from the best senior most actors of Bollywood, from the cricketers, from the people who travel all over the world, and they have all come up to say that we do not accept that any foreign dignitary should say such things about India. We will not go to the Maldives. They're going to boycott Maldives, and we think there are a lot of beautiful sites in India that need to be developed and that we need to visit. Now, it is amazing to see how this popular response...
And if this boycott happens, the fallout could be quite serious for the Maldives, right?
Absolutely. Even during the COVID pandemic, if I may just remind you of one thing, during the COVID pandemic, because of the lockdown, tourism, which is the main industry of the Maldives, their main export income earner, it dropped to zero because nobody could come to the island. And their economy was really facing dire stress. And at that time, in order to help the Maldives government, the government of India allowed a number of what they call these bubble flights, which were sanitized and which had complete careful to travel from individual Indian cities directly to Malé. And that really saved the Maldives tourism industry. A large number of Indian visitors went there and stayed there for long breaks at a time, 1 week, 2 weeks, and it helped a lot. So we have seen very recently the impact of positive Indian tourist activity towards Maldives. In the same spirit, the opposite of Indian tourists leaving Maldives and shunning Maldives and going to other tourist destinations is going to be equally dramatic. And I'm sure it is with this in mind that President Muizo has taken immediate action, and he has suspended his 3 ministers, and he has said that they will no longer be a part of his government, and that their opinions are...
How critical are having good ties for Maldives, with India, and how beneficial are they mutually as well?
Oh, as part of India's neighborhood first policy, Maldives is certainly a very important part of the inner circle of India's neighborhood, very near to India. And also that we have seen with previous governments that India has had very good, positive, mutually beneficial relationships with Maldives on all issues, whether it is defense or security or tourism or infrastructure development. And every issue, we have had this very strong relationship. And we have seen that Maldives, the people of Maldives, they come in large numbers, particularly to the states of Kerala and Karnataka, and they are there for medical treatment, they are there for education, they are there for touristic purposes, for shopping. It's a huge huge industry, I would say, in the Maldives, coming to India, visiting India, staying in India for long periods at a time. And so obviously we know that from the Maldives there is this great benefit of them coming to India. So the average Maldives person would realize this definitely.
And now that the step has been taken, the suspension of these 3 deputy ministers has been undertaken, what would it mean for the future of ties with the Maldives, where there is still India out that hangs in the air? People are making a lot of the fact that President Muizo has chosen to take his first foreign trip after coming to power to China instead of what has been the convention so far to India.
Yes, he is going to China in the coming week, in the coming few days. And China is certainly very much part of this effort to edge out India and to re-establish themselves there in a big way. So I'm not surprised at that. But no, it's not his first foreign visit. He had, President Muizo did visit Turkey as his first foreign visit. And then he was in Dubai for the COP28, and he met our Prime Minister there. So he has met our Prime Minister before he meets President Xi Jinping.
Yes, in Dubai. So but the bilateral visit, it's the first one.
Yes, but I think that yes, President Muizo is aware of this. He knows, he realizes the mutual benefit. He has expressed the need to discuss this, to discuss it carefully, and he's trying, despite his election manifesto and the need to implement his election manifesto, he's trying to take a middle path. Certainly, India is willing to develop good relations with President Muizo's government, and there is no doubt that our government also has been very circumspect. But it is this amazing popular response that must have taken Maldives completely by surprise, to see that the Indian people are so sensitive to their own self-respect, to the dignity of their leaders, and they will not tolerate it. So I think that It's been a great lesson, not only for Maldives, but for, all.
Certainly. And my last question to you, Ms. Sikri, if there is an anti-India sentiment, as seems to have been conveyed through, the social media utterances of these ministers, is there a way to address that? Should India and Maldives somehow think about addressing this issue as well?
There is a tinge of anti-Indianness in every country around of South Asia. This is in part a response of a small country to a very, very big neighbor. And in part, it is a total response to local politics, where a political leader who may be on very good terms with Indian political leaders and will have very good discussions with Indian political leaders, but back in his own environment, because of local political and domestic reasons and both politics, then he does all different things. So this is happening. But I think that India has to be circumspect in the response. Overreaction at the government level is very careful. We do not do that at all. We have seen it now, even this time, that our government has been very circumspect, very careful, and not trying to overdo it in any way. But the message to the people of Maldives has gone through. It's gone through in a direct way without any kind of intervention by the government. The message has gone through, and I'm sure the people of Maldives will take it to heart and will think of their next steps accordingly.
Certainly. Let's hope that things move along in a positive manner from here on. And right now there is a suspension. Perhaps more will happen once President Boizu returns after his trip to China, which he's starting, I think, on the 8th of this month. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Ms. Sikri. Now, in a major milestone for the Indian Air Force in terms of operational and troops deployment capabilities, the Indian Air Force has demonstrated a groundbreaking feat by landing a C-130J Super Hercules heavy lift aircraft on an airstrip in Kargil during the night for the first time. Making this operation even more complex, the Indian Air Force employed terrain masking en route, a technique of low-altitude flight used by military aircraft to avoid enemy radar and infrared detection, enhancing the stealth and security of the aircraft and the troops. The night landing exercise was integrated with a training mission of the Garud Commandos, an elite special unit of the Indian Air Force, enhancing operational coordination between its air and ground units. Located in northern Union territory of Ladakh at an altitude of 8,800 feet, Kargil holds immense strategic significance for India's defense capabilities. As it has a close proximity with Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and China. India and Saudi Arabia have formalized the bilateral Hajj agreement for the year 2024. India's Minister of Minority Affairs and Minister of State for External Affairs, and along with the Saudi Minister of Hajj and Umrah Affairs, engaged in productive discussions on matters of mutual interest. The Saudi delegation expressed appreciation for India's exceptional digital initiatives, particularly in providing essential last-mile information to pilgrims. Discussions also encompassed plans for the enhancement of medical facilities, ensuring the comprehensive well-being of all pilgrims. Prime Minister Modi will be in the Indian state of Gujarat for 2 days starting Monday. The PM will inaugurate Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit 2024 at Mahatma Mandir in Gandhinagar. Meghna Dev reports.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be inaugurating the Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit in Gandhinagar, the capital of Gujarat, which is a western state in India. This global summit will be held from the 10th to 12th of January, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be holding talks with global CEOs as well as with head of states. Also, this time, the global summit, the theme is on Gateway to the Future. The Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit was first launched in 2003 when the current Prime Minister Narendra Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. The 20th anniversary of the Vibrant Gujarat Global Summit was celebrated in September last year.
वाइब्रेंट गुजरात की सफलता इसकी विकास यात्रा से भी समझी जा सकती है। 2003 में इस समिट से कुछ 100 पार्टिसिपेंट्स और डेलीगेट जुड़े थे। बहुत छोटा सा कार्यक्रम था। आज 40,000 से ज्यादा पार्टिसिपेंट्स और डेलीगेट्स इस समिट में हिस्सा लेने के लिए आना शुरू हुए हैं। 2003 में इस समिट में सिर्फ गिनती भर देशों का पार्टिसिपेशन था। आज 135 देश इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं। 2003 में इस समिट की शुरुआत में 30 के आसपास एग्जीबिटर्स आए थे। अब 2000 से अधिक एग्जीबिटर्स इस समिट में आते हैं।
The summit is held biennially, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the summit was not held for the last 2 times. With time, the summit has evolved as one of the most reputed global forums for business networking, knowledge sharing, and strategic partnerships for inclusive growth and sustainable development. Meghna Dev's report, DD India.
Rescue efforts in Ukraine's Donetsk continue after 11 people were killed in a Russian missile strike. Rescue efforts were extended into the night. A Russian military statement issued earlier on Saturday said its forces had struck a command post used by a Ukrainian military formation near Pokrovsk. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed his condolences to the families of the victims and accused Russia of targeting civilians. India's Minister for Commerce and Industry Piyush Goyal on Sunday participated in the Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra in the southern city of Chennai. During his address at the event, Piyush Goyal highlighted a significant shift in the lending practices, emphasizing that loans are now accessible to the economically disadvantaged. The minister interacted with beneficiaries, personally presenting financial support checks under various central government schemes including Ujjwala, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, Swanidhi and Sukanya Samriddhi. This hands-on approach reiterated the government's commitment to empowering and aiding diverse sections of society through accessible welfare programs. And still to come up on DD India News Hour. Indian-American physicist and philanthropist Mani Bhaumik has donated $1 million to honor the work of late Indian scientist Jagdish Chandra Bose. Sutita Satish, an Indian singer, has set the world record for singing in 140 languages at a Climates concert in Dubai.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, from the ravaging tornado in South Florida to the freezing temperatures in Beijing, extreme weather events are reshaping our world. Tripti Tripathi reports.
Starting in the United States, South Florida is reeling from a tornado that demolished buildings and toppled power cables. Miraculously, no injuries have been reported. Simultaneously, the East Coast faces the year's first winter storm with 8 inches of snow predicted. Residents are urged to stay vigilant as authorities closely monitor the situation. Across the Atlantic, Pulborough in southern England is grappling with severe flooding after the River Arun burst its banks. Over 300 flood warnings echo the storms causing chaos across Europe in recent days.
We've invested £5.2 billion in flood defences over the period in question. That's a record sum, far more than we've done in the future. That's contributed to protecting over 300,000 homes. And of course, there have been many people affected by what's happened over the past week, but also 49,000 homes have been protected from flooding as a result of that investment.
Turning our attention to Asia, Beijing experiences its coldest December on record, with temperatures plummeting below -10 degrees Celsius. Heavy snowfall and blizzard conditions sweep across northern and northeastern China, some areas reaching a bone-chilling -40 degrees Celsius as icy air descends from the Arctic. Meanwhile, a bone-chilling cold wave envelops north, northwest and central India. The Meteorological Department issues a cold wave alert for the next 48 hours, with temperatures expected to drop to 6 to 9 degrees Celsius. Northwestern regions brace for severe cold and dense fog. Down south, the Peninsula India anticipates upcoming rainfall. Tamil Nadu expects light to moderate showers over the next 4 days, while Kerala braces for the next 2. In the heart of India, Delhi grapples with extreme winter conditions, prompting the closure of schools for nursery to 5th grade students until January 12. Finally, in Jammu and Kashmir, Srinagar's Dal Lake freezes over as the region enters a 40-day harsh winter period. A thin sheet of ice covers water bodies and temperatures have plunged significantly. As the world navigates these diverse weather challenges, stay tuned for continuous updates on this dynamic and evolving situation.
Indian-American physicist Mani Bhaumik has donated $1 million for a medal in the honor of late Indian scientist Sir Jagdish Chandra Bose. The award, which will be called the IEEE Jagdish Chandra Bose Medal in Wireless Communications, has been introduced by New York's Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. The medal and honorarium would be awarded to promising young scientists for contributions to wireless communications technologies with a global impact. The first award will be given in the year 2025. Sucheta Satish, an 18-year-old Indian singer and Guinness World Record holder from India, has set the world record for singing in 140 languages at a climate concert in Dubai. Here's a report.
In a historic and awe-inspiring event, Sucheta Satish, hailing from Kerala, from India, has etched her name in the annals of music history by setting a new world record for singing in the most languages during a single concert. The Guinness Book of World Records officially attested to this feat earlier this week. The remarkable achievement took place at the Indian Consulate Auditorium in Dubai, UAE.
By the grace of God, I am very happy and blessed to have set a new Guinness World Record for the most languages sung in a concert by singing in 140 languages, which included 101 foreign languages and 39 Indian languages in 9 hours in my Concert for Climate on the 24th of November 2023.
Sucheta's groundbreaking performance was part of a concert for climate, a unique initiative aimed at raising awareness about the critical issue of climate change. The talented artist delivered an astounding rendition of songs in an unprecedented 140 languages, captivating the audience with her musical prowess and a powerful message.
As a multilingual musician whose motto is Music Beyond Borders, I thought of what I could do to spread awareness about climate preservation, and that's how we came up with this concert. Though I can presently sing in 150 languages, the number 140 was chosen as a symbolic representation of the 140 nation heads who had been invited to the UAE for the COP summit.
Sucheta Satish's record-breaking achievement not only establishes her as a musical virtuoso, but also emphasizes the power of music as a universal language to convey important messages. With inputs from Vinod Kumar, UAE for DD India.
As Hollywood prepares for the Golden Globe Awards, celebrating a remarkable year in cinema with hits like Barbie and Oppenheimer dominating the box office, anticipation is high. Nominees like Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things and Past Lives join the lineup for the ceremony in Los Angeles. In the TV categories, acclaimed series such as Succession, The Crown and The Last of Us secure nominations as well. The Golden Globes kick off the film award season, leading the way to the grand finale of the Oscars on the 10th of March. And now time to get you some sporting updates as well. And Rafael Nadal will miss the Australian Open this month after the Spaniard suffered a small muscle tear during his comeback match from a long injury layoff at the Brisbane International last week. The 37-year-old sustained an upper left leg issue during his defeat by Jordan Thompson in the quarterfinals of the Brisbane International. Nadal said in a statement on X, and I quote, "I'm flying back to Spain to see my doctor, get some treatment and rest," end quote. Nadal made his long-awaited comeback in Brisbane after spending almost a year on the sidelines with a hip injury. Nadal won the Australian Open in 2009 and 2022. Elena Rybakina secured a crushing 6-0, 6-3 victory against world number 2 Aryna Sabalenka in the final of the Brisbane International on Sunday. Sabalenka came into the women's final on a 15-match winning streak in Australia, but was completely outplayed by former Wimbledon champion Rybakina. The relentless Kazakh wrapped up the first set in 24 minutes on the back of 3 breaks. Rybakina broke Sabalenka again to start the second set and sealed a 6th career title when the Belarusian crashed another forehand wide. The men's final was a much tighter contest, with former world number 3 Grigor Dimitrov claiming his first ATP title in more than 6 years with a 7-6, 5, 6-4 victory over Danish young gun Holger Rune. Dimitrov's experience and court craft won out against Rune's youthful athleticism in the men's finals, an engrossing contest with plenty of high-quality tennis that kept the crowd gripped for more than 2 hours. Now, the Australian Open itself will run from the 14th to the 28th of this month. Defending men's singles champion Novak Djokovic seeks an unprecedented 11th title in Melbourne, while Aryna Sabalenka of Belarus aims to retain the women's trophy.
The first Grand Slam of the year is here, and fans are all set to flock the Melbourne. In a bold move, the Australian Open 2024 is all set to kick-start on the 14th of January, deviating from its traditional Monday start. The tournament's extended duration of 15 days aims to prevent late-night finishes, ensuring a smoother and more viewer-friendly experience for tennis fans. Qualifying battles will commence on the 8th of January as players would vie for coveted spots in the main draw, requiring triumphs in 3 qualifying matches. The women's singles final is scheduled to take place on the 27th of January, while the men's final will conclude on the 28th of it. Defending men's singles champion Novak Djokovic seeks an unprecedented 11th title in Melbourne. The Serbian star is the top seed, facing stiff competition from Spain's rising star Carlos Alcaraz, Russia's Daniil Medvedev and Italy's Yannick Sinner. Meanwhile, Aryna Sabalenka of Belarus aims to retain women's trophy, seeded second after Poland's Iga Świątek. Women's field showcases American sensation Coco Gauff, 2022 Wimbledon champion Elena Rybakina, and a determined Emma Raducanu making strides in a comeback journey after wrist and ankle surgeries. The Australian Open singles draw is set for the 11th of January, featuring 128 players with 32 being seeded. Seedings, determined by players' world rankings, aim to ensure competitive matchups while preventing clashes of top contenders in the early rounds. The draw event marks the beginning of an exciting fortnight of intense competition and gripping tennis action down under. Varsha Kotwal's report for DD India.
And that's all we have at the moment in this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X as well as Instagram. We'll be back with more news and updates as they break here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India News Hour.